All right, welcome everyone. I hope I'm audible. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes and wait for everyone to join in. Yeah, so I'm going to have my chat on the other screen over there. So I'm going to be constantly looking the other way. So please don't mind that. All right, I think we're good to get started. Yep, so welcome everyone. So we're going to be conducting a workshop on building TwilioQuest extensions. But before we get started with building TwilioQuest extensions, let me go over what TwilioQuest is. So even if you do not know JavaScript or coding, so you can, I'll just go over what TwilioQuest is and how you can use it to learn programming, and then we'll get started with building an actual extension. So I would say the prerequisite for this workshop would be you should know some JavaScript or some fundamental knowledge of Node.js, because the core logic of TwilioQuest extension is in JavaScript, so you'll have to know that. Welcome everyone who's joining in. Yep, so TwilioQuest is a 16-bit RPG game where you can learn coding through various simulations, I would say. So you can download, yeah, I'll go over how you can download TwilioQuest and set it up as well. But this is the launcher that you would have to start TwilioQuest. So I'm going to click on Play TwilioQuest. It's going to open up a window for me. We'll just give it a couple of seconds for it to load. Okay. Okay. In the meanwhile, let me show you all how you can download TwilioQuest. So the link to downloading TwilioQuest is twilio.com/quest. Let me put it as a banner over here. Yeah. So here is where you can go to click on download and then select the operating system that you're working with. So there's support for most operating systems. Yeah, I'm on Windows, so I'm going to click on download for Windows, and it will download a zip file for me. On extracting that zip file, you'll get the setup. Okay, and clicking on that setup, you'll just be able to install it. It's a pretty straightforward process, so I'm not going to cover that. Um, yeah, so our TwilioQuest has started. So I'm going to use spacebar. Yeah. So this is the TwilioQuest game, and as you can see, this is an 16-bit RPG game. The player that I'm moving is the player that you're playing with, and there is an NPC as well. There are a lot of other NPCs that you can interact with. I will cover all of that while building the work extension. And yeah, so let's get started. So you interact with objects in TwilioQuest using the spacebar. I'm going to click on spacebar. So here is a NPC that I'm interacting with. So there are various options. You can just play around with it, talk to the NPC, and look, play around with it. This is the main game, the actual TwilioQuest. And there here, if you come to this end and then interact with this object, you will get various training machines that you can play. So suppose I'd suggest you start with the basic training and then get yourself familiar with the TwilioQuest world, and then how Twilio works. There are a couple of objectives in that as well. And if you're new to JavaScript, there's a JavaScript test lab. There are lots of other labs. There's one for PHP. There are a bunch of Twilio uh, missions, so you can do these at your own time. So let me just do a quick launch. Let me do it in a couple of minutes. Yep. So here is how the mission would look like. There's once again an NPC over here. You can talk to them using the spacebar. and there are a bunch of other objects that you can interact with. There was supposed to be a laser barrier over here. I have already cleared that, so it is open. We'll cover this while building the extension. This is just for folks who are new to coding and want to try out TwilioQuest to learn coding. So I'm just introducing you all to that. Yeah, here's a search barrier. So I'm gonna go to the barrier and then click on space. It is going to open up this mission, the objective for us. There is the overview, there's the objective, and you read through the objective. It asks you to do a specific set of tasks and then give enter a certain say I'd say answer or something similar. You'd have to enter, and then you click on hack. You would essentially open this barrier and then progress to the next step. So that is how TwilioQuest works. Feel free to download it and then play around. The link to download is in the on the screen. Yep. So I think we've covered most enough of the introduction to TwilioQuest. Now let's get started with building TwilioQuest extensions. So like I mentioned, you'd need some basic knowledge of JavaScript to get started because the core logic is in JavaScript. However, you can use other languages as well and use JavaScript as a wrapper to call those other languages. I'm going to cover that later during the workshop. Yeah, I'm going to close this for now, and then we can get started with the development of the extension. So the first thing is you'll have to obviously download TwilioQuest and set it up. It is pretty straightforward, like I mentioned. You just it comes with an installer, and then you click it, and then it'll install it. So I'm gonna open it, open TwilioQuest up. I already have it open. Yeah. So this is the launcher. So if you're using the main TwilioQuest content, you would obviously be using the current version, the stable version. But for developing TwilioQuest extensions, you'll need to switch to a preview version, TQ 3.2 preview version, and make sure you're on the latest alpha, and then click on Play TwilioQuest. It'll take a couple of seconds for it to download and then extract the content for the version that we're playing. I have it already downloaded and extracted, so we got it going. Also, at any point, if you have any questions or feel like something's not clear, please feel free to drop it in the chat. I'll be looking at it constantly to see if there's any questions. Yeah, also towards the end, I'm going to cover how you can use whatever you learned in this workshop and build a TwilioQuest extension and submit it to win a PicAd, Raspberry Pi, and some accessories for that. So that is, we have a challenge at FX for building TwilioQuest extensions. So I'm going to cover that as well. All right, so it is loaded up. Click spacebar. I press spacebar to start. Yeah, so this is a slightly different map. Here, once again, there are NPCs that you can interact with. These are all pre-configured conversations. We get more into how you can configure such NPCs in your own levels and missions. Yeah. So the first thing is you'll have to go to the settings tab on the top. That is the third item over here. So and then you go to extensions. Sorry. So for you initially it'll be it'll ask you with this prompt to enable extensions. So that is what you'll have to do. Enable extensions, and then yeah, let's switch to the extension template on GitHub, and we get started from there, right? So I'm going to close this. Need the extension template. Let me put that. Is Twilio like Ligma? Not too sure what Ligma is. I'll look it up and then answer it later on Discord or on the chat. So yeah, you'll need to get to this URL, the extension template. So TwilioQuest has an template that you can use to get started. So you don't have to code most of it. There is already a template that has most of I would say the map or the NPCs, all of that configured. You just need to create your own extension using this template. So we get to TwilioQuest, the template extension template on GitHub. Make sure you have your GitHub account set up. If you do not, I believe I don't have the time to cover that in this workshop, but please feel free to reach out to us if you need help with that. Yeah, so you can click on this button, use this template. It will create a repository in your workspace, in your GitHub workspace, using the template, using the TwilioQuest extension template. So I'm going to name it TwilioQuest um, defects defects workshop. So I'm just going to create a public repository. Alternatively, you could, if you do not have a GitHub account, you can just go to the extension template and then click on code and download the zip file. But we'd prefer you do it using the template and have your own repository. So this way you can manage things using the source control. Yeah, we'll just wait for a couple of seconds for it to create. Yeah, it's done. And now you will need to clone this onto your local machine. So if you're familiar with Git, it's the standard process. You just copy the repository URL that you want to clone. I'm using Git Bash as my terminal. You can use any of your local terminal that you use. Go to Yep. Also with TwilioQuest extensions, you'll need a parent directory where you'll be creating all the extensions. I'm going to explain why later. So I already have a directory, I believe. TwilioQuest. Yeah, I have a directory TwilioQuest. Sorry, I have a directory. Why am I creating one? Okay. I have a directory TwilioQuest. So there's nothing inside in this. There's bundled. Yeah, this is the reason why you should have a parent directory. So there's going to be a bundled file that will be created. I'm going to remove that for now to create with a fresh directory. Now I have a fresh directory. I'm going to use the git command to clone the repository that I just created onto my local. Okay. Okay. So yeah, now the we clone the repository in our local. I'm just going to open up this parent directory on VS Code. We're going to be editing the code using VS Code. You can use any editor that you're comfortable with. Just going to open it with VS Code. Yep. So I believe our extension is cloned and set up on our local machine. Now let's get back to the TwilioQuest window. And here you'll need to choose the parent directory for the extension. That is the TwilioQuest directory that I had created. So here you can have multiple extensions. So right now I just have the one extension that I just created using the template. So you can have multiple extensions all under the same parent directory. You just need to specify the parent directory as the extension directory in this TwilioQuest window. So now that is set up, you're all good to go. It is so now we've loaded the extension onto TwilioQuest. So I'm just gonna check the chat to see if there's any questions. All right. So we have set up the extension. Now let's get into how we can edit the template and then make our own extension. So to see the level or the extension that we've just added, you can go to this object and then, okay, I believe it needs a restart. Let me, after adding the extension or configuring the extension to request, I believe it requires a restart. Most tasks should not require a restart on TwilioQuest, but a couple of them do. Right. So whenever you're restarting, make sure you switch to the preview version and the version that you were working on. Yeah. All right. All right. So this the template is already loaded up. It says it's 100% complete because I believe there was some cache data from my previous experiment with the template. So for if you are starting out, it should say 0% for you. I believe there's some cache in my computer that led to this 100%. So yeah, here's the extension that we just loaded. Here's the one of the levels in that extension. There was just one level in that extension, so we have that level. I'm just gonna click on launch machine. So you can develop many such levels or many such many such levels. So now let's switch back to the code editor and go through how we can edit some of the things and make your own extension. All right, so here's the directory, the parent directory, the directory of the extension that we just created. And under levels is what each of the level. Let me go back to this to explain it better. All right, so when you go to this, you will see many levels over here. Right now, there's just one. So under levels, in the under the levels directory for in the code, here's where you will find all the levels. So the yeah, so there's the VR mission template. Here's the VR mission template. Let me edit this name. So each level should have a configuration file level.json. That is where you'll configure all of the information about the level. So for example, the title, let me edit it to sorry, TwilioQuest. Okay. So, and change the description as well to show that it can be changed. I'm gonna make it TwilioQuest again. Right, so I'm gonna save this, and if I come back and then I believe even this requires a restart, unfortunately. All right. Yeah, we'll no longer need the GitHub repository. Okay, I believe I did not switch to the preview version. Yeah, that's a common mistake. Let me see. All right. In the meanwhile, let's just go over the level.json. So here you can set the description, the title, and the different other configurations like the background music. If it is a mission, you can set that. We'll go over what exactly a mission is. And each level will have multiple objectives. Once we get into the level, I'll explain what objectives are. You'll need to define all of those objectives explicitly in this level.json. So this is where the progress earlier we saw the 100% progress, right? So here is where we get to decide the number of objectives in each level. So they depends depending on the number of levels that you've configured, the percentage is defined. Yeah, so I edited it to TwilioQuest and it is reflected over here. And the description is also TwilioQuest. Yep. So I'm gonna click on launch mission. Yeah, so we're inside the level. You can have multiple such levels for each extension. That is we over to show you. Okay, there was an obstacle over there. Yeah, So here's an exit to this level. So you can build in a way such that this exit leads to another level, and then create it as a journey for the coding lesson that you're doing. So you complete one level and then you get into another level. That is how you can create one. I believe for some reason the map is already completed, but we just continue. Some cache issues, I believe, but initially there's a chest over here. This is an objective, and similarly there is another objective over here you can interact with. So whenever you get to an object that you can interact with, you'll get an exclamatory mark above the player head. So we'll first let me go over editing the maps. So for editing a map, you'll need a special software called Tiled. You can download it at map. What level of expertise of JS is required to effectively? So I'd say you'd need some fundamental understanding of Node.js and JavaScript as to how it works, like installing packages. And if you're following along the workshop, and if you go through the resources provided by Twilio, they also have a video on how to do the exact same thing that I'm demonstrating. So you can, if you go over those, I believe if you have a fundamental knowledge of JavaScript, you should be able to get started and do stuff. All right, so you need to get to the map editor and download tiled download on itch.io. So tiled is a map editor that we're going to be using to edit the map. So when I'm talking about map, if you see all of this green stuff and everything on this level, so the basic map we're going to be editing, we can edit that as well. So I'm going to open up Tiled. I already have it downloaded and installed. It's the same process. You just download then executable and then click on it. It installs it. All right. So now let me open up the file. Um, so to edit the map, we'll need to open up the map file. If you go back to the code editor, under the levels, under the VR mission template level that we're currently working on, there is a maps folder that has a default.json. So this is the file that we'll be editing. Obviously, if you look at it through the code editor, it makes no sense. So we'll be using a special software called Tiled to edit that. Let me click on open file and then get to the place where I've created the extension. TwilioQuest. Yeah, so it is a JSON file, a default JSON that should be under the maps directory. You open that up, and yeah, you see the same thing that we see on the TwilioQuest extension. So this is the map that we're going to be working with. Let me go over the various components of the tiled editor. So here on the left side, there are different, I'd say, the different properties of an object that you're working with. Suppose, let me click on the NPC. So here you can see the NPC has some custom properties. So we go over these custom properties and how it maps to the code later. But here's where you would programmatically control whatever that is being defined over on this map. And on the top right, there are different layers for the map. So let me close. See, I can hide the top layer. There's the object layer. So most of the interactive objects will be in the object layer, and there are the decorations. Yeah, so there are different layers. So it's a layer on top of another. So that's how it is structured. You can view all of the layers on the top right, and in the bottom right, there is all the uh, there's the tile sets, predefined tile sets that comes with it. uh, you can add your own custom objects as well, and you can edit the map to have different kinds of decoration. You can get creative as to how your level should look, how your extension should look. You can get very creative with it. You can remove all of the existing stuff and then create from scratch. There's actually a whole bunch of items that you can use. If you can look at this, different kinds of trees, there's houses, there's different kinds of roofs. Uh, Basically, you can get very creative with this. There's a tennis court, or is that a football court? Sorry. Yeah, there is lots of objects, predefined objects that comes with the tile set that you can use. Let me edit the map now to demonstrate how you can do that. Yeah, so you just click on whatever you want to add to the map, and then so it's going to be on the decoration layer. Because this is a decoration, I'm just clicking and dragging it around, so it just covers it up. So this is how you would edit the map. Suppose you want to delete something. Let me see. Yeah, there's the eraser tool, and then you just click on it, and then it deletes it. If you need help with this map editing, please feel free to reach out to TwilioQuest on the Defax server or on their own server. I believe there is a tracker running on the screen where you can find the links to their community and Discord. That is how you can find help the, for the hackathon when you're working on the extension. All right, so let me go over different types of objects that you can add. So that was the tile set. There is lots of different kinds of objects that you can add. Now, coming to the objects, there are primarily two types of objectives. So there is the chest and the laser barriers. So there are different colors of chest that you can add, and different laser barriers as well. There's the horizontal one, the vertical one, and if you look at this is actually used to interact with this laser barrier. So when you interact with this laser barrier with this object, and then solve a particular problem, solve a particular question that was asked to you, the other laser barrier opens up. I'll demonstrate how you can connect those two as well. And yeah, let me go over adding an object. So when you click on the object layer, so all of these objects, the NPCs, the chest, the laser barriers, all of those have to be added on the objects layer. And let me, yeah. So you click on this, and then click on whatever you want to add. I'm going to add a green chest. Just going to add it over there, and it should be done. So okay. Yeah, so with each objective that you add, like I said, you need to programmatically connect it to the code. So here on the left side, you can give it an objective name. I'm just gonna name it objective 3 because there's already objective 1 and objective 2. I'm gonna go over that as well. Yeah, so whatever changes you make on this map, you need to save it. If you look at the top left, there's an asterisk. That means it is not saved. I'm just gonna press Ctrl S and then save it. I'll need to go back and then come back to the well to see the changes. Yeah, so there's an the file set has also been changed, and there's a chest that we just added. Uh, I press paste on this. I believe I crashed it because I named it as objective 3, but there was no code in a code base to connect to that objective 3. So that's why it broke. So I'm just gonna restart it. That was a mistake on my end. So for editing the maps and such similar stuff, you will not usually require to restart the TwilioQuest application. This was my mistake because I added an objective 3 without defining the program in the code. That's why the extension crashed. So now let me go over the different kind of objectives that you can do. So this this chest would initially be closed. There's some cache issues, so it is open. So let me. So when I press spacebar, when I go near it and press spacebar, this objective window opens up, and it has three tabs: the overview, the objective, and the help. So overview here is where you would define what the overview of what the objective is. So just a brief description of what the object is supposed to be, and then when you click on let's do this, it gets to the objective tab. Here is where you'd give a complete information about what the objective is, as to what the person who's learning through your extension is supposed to do. So this uses markdown. So if you're familiar with markdown, this is very standard markdown. So just explain what the person who's interacting with your extension is supposed to do in this file. And then under the help section, you can add a more deeper explanation as to what is supposed to be done. Like this is for people who are stuck and then cannot proceed. So you can have all of those instructions under the help tab. Now let's go over how you can customize this objective. So under the objectives, under the level that we're we're working with the VR mission template level. Under that, there's the objective folder, and there's already two pre-configured objectives that come with the template: the example objective and example objective 2. So under the example objective, there are different files like the description.md. Like I mentioned, it is an markdown file. So I'm just gonna name it facts objective. Yeah, so you should be able to see the change. Okay, I changed the example objective. Let me just make sure this is the exact example objective that I'm working with. Um, Tiled is a little bit confusing to me still, but get a hang around it. Alright, so I believe that is example objective that I'm working with. So I believe getting out of the level and then coming back in should fix it. It's a little tricky as to when you're supposed to restart and when you're not supposed to restart. That's a little tricky, but that's the thing with development, right? Yeah. It requires a lot of restarts, and that's the thing. It's- My bad. I was actually looking at the title of the objective rather than the description of the objective. That is completely my bad. So yeah, as you can see, the title of the description has been changed. We changed it to defacts objective. So whatever was the title over here, that is the title over here. And similarly, the objective.json, just like with the levels.json, sorry, it was a level.json. For each level, there is a main configuration file level.json. That similarly with objectives, there's an objective.json. That is the main configuration for that objective. I believe there's a question. Can we add hostile NPCs to the map? That we create? Yes, we can add NPCs to the maps. I'll go over that as well. I believe, yeah, we're doing all right on time. Okay. Yeah, so this is the main configuration for the objective file. You can edit the title. So the title that is being displayed over here, that is what the title over here is. And the description field over here is what shows up over here. And with each objective, you can reward the player with some XP or with some items. If you go over the main TwilioQuest missions, you'll find completing those missions, you'll find yourself getting boots, a headwear, a shirt. So similarly, you can have those as rewards for this extension that you're building as well. So it takes in an items array. So this here is where you would define whatever you're getting. So there's something like helmet. You can find all of the docs on how to add these the TwilioQuest docs. Let me provide a link to that. Yeah, so here's where you'd find the docs for all of the extra configuration, the customization that you can do. And with each objective, you'll need to validate the users or the person that is learning through your extensions. Um, I would say understanding. So you'll have questions that you can ask the person that is using your extension. So what is the company that makes TwilioQuest? I wonder what that might be. Any guesses in the chat? What is the name of the company that makes the TwilioQuest? Any guesses in the chat? Right. So um, yeah. So here are the questions that were defined over here. So there is the each question requires a name. This is to programmatically get the answer later for validation. So whatever name is given over here, you will get that. You'll use this to check for answers in the code. I'll go over that. I will go over the validator.js where the actual validation of the answers is happening. Um, Looks like nobody knows the company that makes the TwilioQuest extension. I wonder what company makes TwilioQuest extensions. So yeah, and the type is text, so it expects a text input, and placeholder. This is standard stuff. There's a placeholder and the label that is the question. What is the name of the company that makes TwilioQuest? And similarly, there's another question with the same format. Let me just answer it. No guesses in the chat apparently. Okay, so let me provide an wrong answer for this. So let's say it is 4. Yeah, it is technically 4, right? So I click on hack. Okay, this will not work. This is once again my bad. Ha. So with the extension template, it uses Node.js in the backend, right? For like I mentioned, it uses JavaScript for the core logic. So it uses Node.js, and it the extension template comes with an dependency Ramda that is just provided as an example that to show that you can use external dependencies as well. I forgot to install the dependencies using npm, so I just get into the folder and then do npm install, and that should do it. So because the validator used the external dependency, the thing did not work. Now it should work now that I've installed the dependency. Uh, right, so let me quickly go back to the objective that we were just doing. You can also customize the player starting position rather than having the player start over there. If you look at the map, there is something called player one entry. So if you move that around, okay, yeah, so there's something called player one entry. So this, if you move that around, you'll be able to customize where you want the player to start in the map. Yeah, so I mentioned helmet as one of the rewards. So here it is showing up. Um, and that makes TwilioQuest is Twilio. And it expects a numerical response for 2. What is 2 plus 2? I'm just going to give it 4 and then click on hack. This should work. All right, so it worked. So it says failed. The second answer was not what you provided was either not a number or the correct answer for the response. Um, So here's the thing, with failing these messages, it is best consider that you give an appropriate or an exact answer as to why it failed. Here it says it is either not a number or it was not the correct response. So let me go over the validator code and show you how you can do the failing and the success. So the assert library is just used to assert, that is used to validate the responses. And Ramda is just a third-party library that the TwilioQuest has included to show that you can use third-party libraries to do the validation. And there is a helper also. This is also again just to demonstrate that you can have separate helper functions to and call them for the validation. So the helper function is just it just test whether the string is Twilio. It is as simple as that. But it was more of a demonstration to show that you can use such external helpers for validation. So here's the main logic. The validator.js exports an function that takes in helper object. So the helper object has the answers to the question answers that we submitted for the objective. So here we're just using destructuring to get the answers out of the helper dot validation fields. And this is just validation, that is you checking whether the answer was present, and then using the helper function to check whether the answer was actually Twilio. And then if it is not Twilio, or if it is not if the answer was not provided, you use the helper fail function and then provide a message. So here is where you would want to be more descriptive as to how why the answer was wrong and stuff like that. And with the other response, so here the same thing, it is using the Ramda library to add two numbers and then check whether the answer that was inputted was the answer that we're looking for. So again, once again, the helper function fail method of the helper function is used. Here you can get more descriptive and see whether the response was a number, and then give an appropriate response based on that. And if none of these fail, you'll get to the end, and then you'll use the success function of the helper to say, hooray, you did it. I can demonstrate that as well. Let me quickly do it. So the answer is 4 hack. Yeah, success. So it says, hooray, you did it. I got the helmet. Done. So perfect. We've covered how you can create such chest. So with these TwilioQuest missions, the chest can be an optional challenge that your learner is going to go through. So the main challenges, or the main objectives, has to be the laser barriers. So they technically there will be a laser barrier covering this door, but like I've mentioned over, there are some cache issues that have created the laser barrier to be already open, but it would be closed, and you would need to interact with this system over here to get that laser barrier open. So this is also very similar to the other chest objective that we just looked at. It also has the same components as to the overview tab, the objective tab, and the helper tab. And the same similar way you can do the same validation. Let's go over the code to show it is the same thing. So this objective is actually the example objective 2. If you look at the map and then select the let me do that. All right. For some reason, the entire map is selected. Okay. Yeah. So let me select this object. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of this object, but yeah, this links to this laser barrier. Let me zoom out. Yeah, so this is linked to this laser barrier, because if you look at the custom properties, both of them have the same name, example objective 2, and even this also has the name example objective 2. The only difference is this has the hackable selected, which means any object that is uh, selected as hackable means the player who's playing the game can interact with that object. So upon interacting with this object, this laser barrier will be opened, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I'm just going to interact with this, and same thing, the chest objective, it's very similar to that one. And here's how you can use it to design your extensions. So you can have just like with this, you can have a laser barrier that blocks a certain part of the map, and then upon clearing it, you get access to the other part of the map. And similarly, you can have a series of challenges that you want to that you want your player to do. I'm just gonna see if there are any questions. Does anybody have any questions? Anything that was not clear? I know I cleared quite a bit. I covered a lot of stuff. So just want to make sure if there's any questions, I can answer them. Okay. I'm just going to continue with how you can interact with the NPCs and creating your own NPCs, adding your own NPCs. I'm just going to cover that. All right. So here, with the extension template, TwilioQuest has actually provided us with a bunch of NPCs already on the map. Um, just like with adding any object, you can do that yourself on the map. You just need to get to the tile editor and then go to the objects layer, and uh, here the TwilioQuest NPCs tile set, and then click on the NPC that you want to add. I'm going to select. Also, make sure you select this while you are adding it, and I'm just going to add this NPC. Let's see. Obviously, when I reload the map, that NPC is going to show up. But so that is how you can add an NPC. Let's talk about interacting with an NPC. So when I get to the here, that's where interaction is not enabled. Let me see. I think it has to do with the bundled file that I earlier had. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly create another, I'd say, quickly create another extension, just to demonstrate it properly. I'm gonna do it this. Yeah, I could have done it on the terminal. Quickly create another extension and then use that. So yeah, like with the other NPCs that we interacted with earlier, you just go to the NPC and then click on space. So you should be able to. Okay, we are able to interact. Okay, the arrow mark did not show up. That was my bad. Yeah. So we're able to interact with the NPC. Here there are a set of default conversations that are defined by TwilioQuest. Um, if you look at it, hello, nice to meet you. All of this, these are all predefined conversations defined in the code. I'll go over that as well. Um, yeah, you can have once you click on one of the conversation responses, it can lead to another one. So let me go over once again. So if I click on hello, who are you, it leads to another section where there are another set of responses. I'll show you how you can do that as well. Let me yeah, let's first go over the code for Cedric. So this NPC is called Cedric. Let's go over that. Like with maps and objectives, there's another folder just for the conversations, and each NPC should have their own pug file. So pug is a templating language that is used. I'm not going to cover how you can create your own pug file. I'm just going to explain the ones that are already present. So pug is a pretty popular templating language that you can look up. Um, yeah, so when I'm interacting with Cedric, there is the first thing is the display name. This is the display name that you want to give. And how do you connect this NPC with that file? If you're curious about that, that is once again one of the custom properties in the tile, in the tiled software. So here the conversation is Cedric default. So that maps to the pug name, the pug file name on the code base. And similarly, you can define the conversation avatar and the sprite sheet as well. So sprite sheets are basically a set of images that are combined together to give a nice little animation. You can have your NPCs do animation as well. So that is an option. And yeah, let me go over the conversation. So here, with the conversation, you need to define a set of statements. So the first statement is the default. You need to have a default statement among all the statements. So the statement marked as default is the one that shows up when you first interact with the NPC. That is welcome about the fog. So it's welcome about the fog. You can look up the templating language and see how you can create this yellow color text. So there's just span highlight, all of that stuff. And you can also have the NPC do a speech version of the whatever it is being displayed. So you can have that option as well. So now there is another statement, Cedric. So now with the default statement, okay, let me go over the responses for the default statement. So the responses for the responses are configured using the see, yeah, for the statement. For the default statement, there are the response, who are you? So let me see. Yeah, there is a statement, hello, who are you? So here's the statement, hello, who are you? And hello, who are you is the statement that is being displayed. Similarly, for that response, whenever that is triggered, you get to another set of statements that is nice to meet you and you seem nice. So if I click on this, it says nice to meet you, you seem nice. I hope this makes sense. I actually did not cover how pug works, so it might look a little confusing. So there's that. Yeah, so you can map the conversation for the NPC using the .pug files. Let's talk to another NPC to show the different kinds of conversations that you can have. So this is an observation conversation, I believe. So it's query, and let's see, where do we have it? Yeah, so check the NPC. Oh, okay, it's the observation property in the tile map. So here, if you click on this NPC, there is an observation property. So here is where you define the text that you want to show up when you don't want the user to, or the person who's playing the game to interact with the NPC. So if suppose you don't want the player to interact with the NPC, you can have an observation and text for it that will show up in this way and interact with this NPC. So there are TwilioQuest has actually provided a bunch of NPCs to show different kinds of examples. So if you set up the extension using the template that they've given, you'll be able to find a lot of examples based on top of which you can build your own extension. You can get really creative with it. So this is very similar to what we had with the Cedric conversation. So this with this NPC. As you can see, you can have a custom images from the images conversation folder. So as you play around with the extension template, you'll actually be learning about how to create the extension. So most of it is actually self-documented through the extension template, but you can obviously reach out to the forums on Discord if you need any kind of help. Yeah, so under images and conversations, there's your Ryan.jpg. So that is what being showed over here. All right. I think I covered pretty much most of it. I'm sorry, I could not exactly cover the laser barrier and just because it was open. Um, Sorry about that. So I hope you get the idea. So when you once you interact with this, the once you open this objective, once you complete this objective, will the laser barrier over here will be open. So that is how you can create a laser barrier and then create a series of such laser barriers to create a sequence through the game. So you can customize a lot of stuff with the tiled map editor. So you can have fun with that. Okay, I believe we have 5 more minutes. So I'm just going to go over how you can share these extensions that you build. So for the hackathon, you just need to have the GitHub repository that you just created with the template. So we will be judging you based on that for the hackathon. And of course, the video demo. If you want to your uh, share your extension with others to try it out, you can do so using a GitHub action that was recently written by TwilioQuest. But the thing with this method is it only works when you've used pure JavaScript and nothing, no other language for building the extension. Yeah. Also, I missed to cover one more thing with the validation. Let me go over the validator.json for the objective, one of the objectives. Yeah, so in the validator.js, you can not only call JavaScript functions, you can also call external files, like you can call a Python script, you can call um, any other language to suppose you're creating a Python based quest, that is, you're creating a quest to learn Python. So you'll want to obviously validate whatever the user inputs, whether if it is a correct Python script, or you'll want to validate that. You can do that as well by just by calling the Python script through the validator.js. You can use the Node.js child process for that. And regarding more ideas as to how, what exactly you can create, you can uh, with you can create sorry yeah, you can create extensions where it checks the local directory. Let's local mm, sorry, running out of words. Okay, yeah, you can check the local file structure and see whether the person has cloned a repository, or created a specific directory that you wanted, or created a server, or started a server that on a specific port that you're looking for. You can do all of this validation using the validator.js. And another thing is there's the events.js. So here you will get all the events that are happening on the TwilioQuest mission. So let me show you what I mean by events. So since this is okay, we're almost close to time. Okay, since this is an Electron application, you still get access to the developer tools. This is basically a browser based application. So here, if you look at it, all of the events and the world are being logged. So if you look at this, so the event.js line number 3, that is the event. So if you look at it, it says the event name is player did interact. So similarly, there's a lot of other events that are happening. So player did interact, their conversation did end. So you can look for these events and then trigger another thing based on these events. Mm, yeah, I was talking about the GitHub actions to share your work, right? So I'm just going to quickly go through that. So this is the extension that we were working with. So if you look at the README, there is an option. This most of it is documented in the README. So sharing your extension, if you go to sharing your extension, you just need to enable actions workflow on your GitHub repository. If you're familiar with that, there's complete steps over here. So what it does is it packages your extension, installing all the dependencies, and then you can just share it with other people who want to test out your extension. Yeah. Um, Right. So, any questions? Does anybody have any questions? Feel free to drop them in the chat. Or if you are, if all of this seems a little overwhelming, please go through the video again. Or there are a bunch of resources shared in the Discord channel of our TwilioQuest. Go through those and then ask any questions you have. Will be TwilioQuest. The team from TwilioQuest will be happy to answer them, or I can help as well. Right. If we had the time, I could have gone through some of the previous extensions that were built. I have a I have a list of all the extensions, and yeah, there are a couple of resources that I created using the Discord server of TwilioQuest. I just went through it and then found a couple of resources. There are resources for the different assets, the tile sets, and if you want to have a validator with Python runtime, there is one for that as well. I'll share this in the Discord. Let me know if you'll need it. And yeah, that is pretty much it. I'm looking forward to whatever you're going to build or whatever extensions that you can build. You can get really creative. I might have missed out on a lot of things. Please feel free to watch the video from TwilioQuest to get more understanding of the things that you can do. Uh, yeah, looking forward to whatever you're building. And just to mention the price once again, it is Picard console and Raspberry Pi along with some accessories. So that is really cool. And also the second and third place get some really cool Twilio Quest swag. So look out for it and looking forward to your submission. Right. So if there are no questions, I believe we're good to end. And happy hacking, everyone. Um, yeah, good night to most of the folks watching us from the United States. Looks like there are no questions. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining in. If you have any questions, like I said, please feel free to do ask it on the Discord or on the TwilioQuest forums and Discord. And that's it for now. Happy hacking. Bye bye.